Hello everyone, my name is Meepolis and this is another episode of Literally Graphic. And today we are doing a Manga Monday, hopefully. Just gonna cross my fingers and hope I can get this episode done ASAP. Because this is a manga, now manga/anime, that I have been putting off for a really long time. But there's literally no excuses now for not talking about it because A, I love it, and B, I've watched the anime and read the manga twice, technically, sort of, kind of. So I got halfway through, had to return it, then I got it out again, and here we are. And what is this manga/anime, you ask? And I would have to reply that today I will be talking about the manga anime Tekkon Kinkreet, Black and White by Taiyo Matsumoto, the author-artist behind my favorite manga of all time, Sunny, and the still very good, if not my favorite manga of all time, Blue Spring, and the manga Go-Go Monster. He has written, I believe, a couple other things. I'm not sure if they've been translated yet, though, because they don't appear to be. My library certainly doesn't have them, so they might as well not exist. Except, not really. According to the Anime News Network, the anime of the same name is also the very first time an American director has gone over to Japan and overseen a project like this from start to finish in a Japanese studio. I'm not exactly familiar with this sort of thing, but since they actually think that was like really crap at his job, they certainly don't appear to have much reason to bring it up if it was not true. To give a brief overview of both the comic and the anime, I would categorize this story as magical realism. It's certainly set in the real world with not too many all-out fantastical elements, but the story is from the perspective of two orphan pre-adolescent brothers, and it does get caught between gritty realism and the magical thinking of children, which seems to be a bit of a calling card when it comes to the work of Matsumoto as a whole, and is probably part of the reason why I enjoy his work so much. The word Tekkon Kinkreet is actually a play on words, according to the inside flap of the book, that suggests the opposing images of concrete cities against the strength of imagination. And that's definitely a really great way to summarize the series. A pretty tight balance between action and character development. The story of Tekkon Kinkreet follows these two brothers, literally named Black and White, through some dramatic changes in their kingdom of Treasure Town. From yakuza to gentrification. I don't really want to get into the details for fear of spoilers, but needless to say, it's interesting. For a pretty male-centric comic, I was very impressed by the diversity of male characters that the two brothers come in contact with. It's certainly not a land overflowing with great role models. Note mention of yakuza earlier, but for each bloodthirsty yakuza, there is someone who cares. And for each character who kicks ass, there's a character who is weak. There are a couple of scenes of naked ladies in the comic, a few less in the anime, but I would kind of freaking dare you to sexually objectify them, at least in the manga, because Matsumoto's amazing artwork is such that it's kind of hard. Moving along to said artwork, needless to say, I was not surprised to see a quote from Paul Pope on the back cover where he says, Taiyo Matsumoto is a genre-defying mangaka with an approach unlike any other modern Japanese or American cartoonist. His work stands out from among his peers like a weedy, spindly, black and white giant made out of wobbly lines. Which is kind of putting it mildly. For all my friends out there who lean more towards the surrealist side of things, I would say that this is certainly a manga for you. And even for those who don't necessarily lean towards that sort of thing. Like most of the Matsumoto work I have seen so far, it is unlike most manga art that I've seen, and certainly it is a far cry from what most people think as typical or stereotypical manga style. Matsumoto's art style is loose and energetic. It reminds me a lot of those drawings exercises I did as a kid where you have to draw people without picking up your pencil from the paper. It's obviously not what Matsumoto is doing literally, but something about the quality of line really reminded me of these drawings, combined with a pretty solid, although somewhat varied page layout structure. Many frames are at odd angles and include distorted skylines and people with dramatic proportions. Like Sunny, Tekkon Kinkreet includes a lot of kids' noses, dripping snot, and gaping mouths, full of teeth. But that is really par for the course when it comes to Matsumoto's storytelling style. Needless to say, the power of Matsumoto's Tekkon Kinkreet black and white is enough to carry it through even a subpar anime adaptation with flying colors. Watching the anime version very much removed from the original manga, I did genuinely enjoy it a lot, even if the art was much more standard fare. And it will probably be a few more years before I can actually come up with my own opinion about the negative reviews of the anime, and I don't know the sites well enough to just throw my hat in unquestioningly. It does have a much lower age rating though, and as I said, the art is pretty dramatically normalized, so I feel like I can see both sides here, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Which wraps up this Manga Monday for all of you out there in the real world. Me out there riding public transit on my too long commute to work. I hope you all are doing well, and I would know already that at least a few of you already really love this manga. So I would love to hear what kinds of other manga or comic books it reminds you of, so I can perhaps jump down a few new rabbit holes. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye! And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, Indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.